Ice Ice Baby. Ice Ice Baby is one of the most overrated one-hit wonders in music history. Even though Vanilla Ice is universally seen as a complete joke, for some goddamn reason, people just love this shitload of fuck called Ice Ice Baby. Well, anyway, back on topic. Ice-type Pokemon are often seen as the biggest example of glass cannons in the franchise, for it is offensively strong against some of the most common types in the top and high tier meta, especially those pesky dragon types that like to live an aristocratic lifestyle, and also for its extremely fragile nature. Considered by the grand majority of players as the absolute worst defensive type in the game. The reason for it being the worst defensive type in the entire Pokemon franchise is simply because Ice only resists one type, itself. And it also has a defensive type disadvantage against 4 of the most common types in the competitive scene. It's baffling to know that the normal type has more defensive advantages than Ice. It's not that fragile. Let's try this. Place a block of ice in a rooftop and stand on the ground right below the block. Now have someone drop it on your head. Once you go through it, tell me in the comments what was more damaged, the ice block or your skull. Well, whatever. In the end of the day, there are still good ice type Pokemon out there, and the following are my 5 favorites. Vana Lux. This little yummy looking critter was one of the poor victims of the massive Generation 5 hate speech scandal. A massive amount of nostalgia blinded man children started riots directed towards Game Freak for the new Pokemon added in Generation 5. The largest cry of them all was because of new Pokemon being based off inanimate objects. Cognitive dissonance much? And yeah, Vana Lux, being an ice cream cone, was attacked. But you know what? Fuck the haters. This Pokemon is cool and presumably very tasty. 1 scoop? 2 scoops? To hell with such miniature snacks. I need the Sundae Deluxe to keep me satisfied, and that's exactly what Vana Lux is. Of course, being a sentient frozen dairy treat makes it much more unique and interesting than the delicious chocolate chip cookie dough dessert I currently have stored in my freezer, for it enables it to use offense and defense mechanisms to survive in the Poke Planet. For starts, its special attack is pretty damn solid, with it reaching a maximum of 350, allowing it to deliver serious wounds on even tanks. A simple Ice Beam would demolish the fools of Dragonite, Salamence, and Garchomp. Think that just because you are Pseudo Legends suddenly means that you are invincible? Reality check, you're not. One might point out that Vana Lux's move pool is very limited, but like they say, quality over quantity. And with moves like the previously mentioned Ice Beam alongside Uproar, Freeze Dry, Flash Cannon, and Toxic, hoo, such big guns should be banned. Wait, never mind. One might also quickly point out that Vana Lux has pretty underwhelming speed alongside unimpressive defense and, well, the absolute worst defensive type in the game, but there is nothing to fear, Ice type fans. For its hidden ability, Weak Armor will cause the Ice Cream Twin to sharply increase their speed. Now, Ice Cream Monster can work as an effective sweeper, for it outruns even Ninjask. Fear the power of deadly frozen desserts. When I think of Alola, I think of Hawaii, and when I think of Hawaii, I think of a tropical volcanic archipelago, not a frosty fox that looks like it belongs at the summit of Mount Silver. I shouldn't act so surprised. After all, this is the same franchise that made a garbage bag into a Pokemon. Nevertheless, the new Alolan forms old Pokemon received were for the better, and none benefited from them more than Ninetails. The original Ninetails is one Pokemon that I could honestly care less about. With bad stat distribution and a very ugly and dull design, it makes sense why I always overlooked this turd of a Naruto. However, its Alolan counterpart fully redeems this Kitsune in a Pokeball. For now, it has a better type and better abilities. Mono Fire type is good and all, but a plethora of superior fire types makes Ninetails feel outclassed. But a dual Ice Fairy type is indeed one of a kind. Spraying a bit of fairy dust onto an Arctic Fox grants it with much needed defenses. And I don't mean that the defense and special defenses stats are improved, in fact they are exactly the same, but as in fairy, works as a shield for ice. Now it resists more than just ice, and it becomes completely immune to dragon. And on the topic of dragon, both its stabs destroy that mythical creature. However, that is not where Alolan Ninetales shines, for she is best used as a support. Snow Warning alongside Aurora Veil will give Ninetales the tools needed to set up a defense barrier to protect the entire party from enemy attacks, as well as non-ice type allies from the hail itself, allowing glass cannons to tank otherwise one-hit kill moves. And of course, one has to admire its design. If female, I can confidently say that it is one of the coolest and simply beautiful looking Pokemon out there. The phrase, "a big chunk of ice," could not be a better description to talk about the most recent mono ice type created, Avalon. I mean, seriously, its design is based off the submerged part of an iceberg, which is nothing more than solid, sturdy, and simply heavy ice. Oh, and I mean solid, sturdy, and heavy with no hyperbole. Fucker is heavier than Snorlax. Avalon is the textbook definition of a physical tank, possessing really high physical attack and an outrageously high physical defense, allowing it to tank even the strongest of physical attacks and revenge kill the fragile sweeper. It has a massive arsenal consisting of moves like Crunch, Avalanche, Earthquake, Stone Edge, Skull Bash, Double Edge, Body Slam, Ice Fang. Ugh. So much kill potential, it would make Ted Bundy proud. All this sounds so good, but it is only the appetizer, for we still need to cover the best thing about Avalon, its enormous defense. Just holy shit, man. This is higher than Aggron's physical defense. It reaches a maximum of 513. This is just ridiculous, and stacked on top of that is a great maximum HP. You better get a hold of a special attacker, or else there is no way around this Sub-Zero behemoth. You think you can chip away at Avalon and eventually kill it with multiple physical attacks? Do you? Well, I have a word for you. Recover. Now are you foolish enough to attempt the physical barrage again? I thought so. If you think that the Sloth Tier speed will hinder Avalon from unleashing its full power, well, we have two words for you. Gyro Ball. Or I could just have him switch into a Trick Room and sweep your miserable team clean. Skin to skin, blood and bones. Your last Pokemon's not alone. I went in, now I'm here. Driven by greed, consumed by wrath. As your Pokemon's bodies hit the floor. Legends in snowy regions say that a woman who was lost in an icy mountain was reborn as Frostlast. Damn, so much for rated E for everyone. It's no biggie. After all, Pokemon is notorious for having dark and disturbing themes in its games. However, Frostlast earns brownie points for having its design also based off one of Japan's most famous mythical yokai, the Yuki-onna, a spirit that only makes her presence noticeable in snowy terrains. Spirit, snow, ghost, ice? Yeah, not a coincidence at all. After all, Frostlast's hollow torso is based off a Japanese kimono, making her inspiration very obvious. To fit her typing and background, Frostlast's main means of attack are by darkness and misery, spreading ominous phantom forces and slow, agonizing blows on its victim. While her overall move pool is very impressive, unfortunately, Frostlast just does not have the physical or special attack to use these moves effectively. And with such lousy defenses, many Pokemon will revenge kill her with ease. Alas, Frostlast will perish with not much utility. That is until you see her true potential. She is best used as an annoyer and crippler. Under a hailstorm, Frostlast's Snow Cloak ability enables her to evade enemy fire more frequently. And stacked on top of that, she can use Double Team to further increase her evasion. So enemy attacks will miss, and miss, and miss. All while that is happening, simply use Toxic or Will-O-Wisp and watch the poor fool meet its demise slowly and painfully. Just watch the clock tick by. The enemy's health will decrease and decrease, all while they are trying and continually failing to land a hit on this spine-chilling phantom. Turn after turn passes, miss after miss passes, and finally, after such long agony and misery, the victim finally dies. You can bring as many Pokemon as you want against Double Team Snow Cloak Frostlast. They will all suffer the same cruel fate. One thing is for certain though, good luck landing a hit. You will need it. After all, ghosts are supposed to be invisible, and snowstorms are known for drastically decreasing visibility, so it makes a lot of sense why Frostlast would have such evasive abilities. Use your common sense. I'll be brief and to the point. Mamoswine is hands down the single greatest Ice-type Pokemon ever made. It's a giant woolly mammoth boar with an intimidating presence and an immense physical strength to truly back up such an aura. Growing up with Gold and Silver, one of my favorite Pokemon was Piloswine, a large yak-like boar with the unique dual typing of Ice and Ground, a type combination that still remains exclusive to its evolutionary line to this day in the 7th generation. However, stat-wise, I felt Piloswine was a bit lacking. I mean, its best stat is attack and it's not that impressive. But not to worry, for Gen 4 created a load of evolutions to older Pokemon, and one of those was Piloswine. Yeah, now we're talking, and holy shit, a physical attack of base 130. It means that Mamoswine has the physical strength equivalent to that of a Metal Mantis, a Land Hammerhead Shark, and even a Rainbow Phoenix with a Sacred Fire. Yeah, those massive sharp tusks are not just for show, and on them Mamoswine carries some of the most powerful moves in the entire game. With the ability to learn Stone Edge, Earthquake, Icicle Crash, and Avalanche, Mamoswine will be more than capable of exterminating the opposition. If you are worried about his average speed getting in the way of Mamoswine's great traits, then keep Ice Shard on him and watch the frail glass cannons meet their demise after being hit with a staff priority move from one of the strongest Pokemon. Speaking of stab attacks, the Ice Ground combo grants Mamoswine with the ability of inflicting major damage on half of the Pokemon types thanks to moves like Icicle Crash, Ice Shard, and Earthquake. Yeah, there is no switching into him safely, especially if carrying Stealth Rock. One may point out that it's weak to very common type attacks, but to that I say it's not a big deal. I'll simply grant him leftovers with Snow Cloak under a hailstorm and wait for your attacks to miss. The satisfying feeling I get from decimating the weak with this mastodon is simply orgasmic. A massive ancient mammal like this is basically designed for greatness, and it will keep it for years to come.